So big news came out of the XFL last week. Get ready, Houston, because come January, it's going to be an XFL takeover. Guys, I think we kind of knew that the XFL was going to bring all of their teams into one location for their training camp. We had heard rumblings that it was Houston, but this press conference this past week confirms that. And I want to play some clips here before we get into the conversation. Just XFL Commissioner Oliver Luck and Houston Roughnecks president Brian Michael Cooper on just the excitement level of bringing the XFL training camp to Houston.
Very often we're asked, why is Vince McMahon doing this? Why did he relaunch the XFL? And it's really very simple, for the love of football. It's all about the love of the game and what it means to people, and it means a lot to people here, certainly in Houston and South Texas.
I'm certain this historic training camp will have an incredible economic impact through new employment and business opportunities. But I think most importantly, this camp is also going to have a community aspect to it, and it's going to be a community game changer, particularly as the league reimagines pro football by placing fans, including and more close to young fans, closer to the game with camp practices and activities. And so, we're the Houston Roughnecks. We're proud to be a part of this historic training camp. And on behalf of the other 7 XFL teams and our fellow XFL clubs, we look forward to welcoming old and new football fans here to Houston for camp.
So this is a big deal for Houston. I mean, we're talking like bringing $7 million of revenue into the city. I think the mayor said it a couple of times in joking fashion. We're talking over 60,000 meals. You got to have a lot of hungry football players. I mean, hotel rooms. Just think about the economic impact of having an entire professional football league descend on your city. It's a big deal for Houston to get this. And I think in terms of bringing all 8 teams into one location for a startup football league, guys, it just makes too much sense, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's a no-brainer.
Yeah, I agree. I think from a couple different perspectives, the main one for me is there is no preseason game, right, or preseason games. So just having them all in a central location where they can all scrimmage each other, I would imagine that we're probably going to get a lot of scrimmages, and you're probably going to have multiple times a week. You're going to have 1s versus 1s, 2s versus 2s from different teams, and we'll get a really good look at what's going on there. But the other thing is from a cost perspective, if you held out at each of the cities, that's 8 different training camps that they would all have to foot the bill for.
This is so cost effective.
It's cost effective, but from a competition standpoint, I think it's a really good way to know that we're also going to get a really good product, right? Because they're all going to be scrimmaging and playing against each other. So I think it makes too much sense from a competition standpoint as well.
Yeah, and let's not gloss over the fact that I'm sure they got a great deal to do this from Houston, or worked out a good deal, a very beneficial deal, because Oliver Luck was the CEO of the Houston Sports Authority from 2001 to 2005. He pretty much alluded to it in his press conference that he still had contacts within the Houston Sports Authority and in that area. And I'm sure, being a Houston Dynamo guy after that. So Oliver has deep roots in the city of Houston. I'm sure they got a great deal. Yeah. It makes too much sense not to do it. Plus, you're in a state where, the motto is God, family, country, football. If you're going to host it anywhere, if you're going to consolidate your training, you might as well be in Texas.
They also have the facilities to handle it too. Right. I mean, if you look at all I think a couple, I think they had a couple teams at a high school, but you have Rice, you got the University of Houston, and you got some other smaller colleges that are in the area. So,
but Gless, those high school football stadiums, let's be real, dude. Those high school football stadiums are probably better than some D1 football stadiums out there.
Oh yeah, there's no doubt. But
the facilities at these high schools in Texas are insane.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that was the point I was trying to make. They have high quality infrastructure to manage training camps for 8 teams. What other city has that? They're Los Angeles, maybe. Los Angeles maybe been able to support it, but I don't think New York. I don't think anybody else could have held it, but Houston, in my opinion.
Yeah, so when you look at the pros and cons list, it's just so lopsided. I mean, the only con I can really think of is that your fan base, other than Houston's, obviously, your fan base is not there to be able to, engage with the team, watch the team, build that that community outreach and whatnot. So I mean, and that's a big deal. I mean, it's nothing to turn your head to, but there's just too many other pros that you just have to do it.
They and the XFL, if the XFL's smart, they'll take a page out of. I'm not saying they're on the same level as the MLB, but take a page out of the MLB. MLB holds all their spring training in Florida or Arizona, and outside of a Florida team and an Arizona team, none of the other fan bases are there. So it's doable, and it's going to be in January, so it has to be in a warm weather area. Like you can't hold it in DC in February or in January.
Yeah, and things get done. Things get done when you centralize operations. It's like the winter meetings for MLB. That's when all the trades happen. It's when all the contracts happen. So when you centralize operations in Houston, you probably have a lot of things that are going to get finalized in January because you're going to have everyone there to make decisions. Yep. And that's the key month to make these decisions as we progress into the actual XFL league in February.
It's a huge point, Pastel. It's a huge point because you don't want to spread your resources as a new league. Not only is it very cost effective, but think about all the travel, like the league office, all their communication staffs, PR, marketing. All of their staffs are going to be able to be in one location, which is a huge deal. And to Glessner's point, the fact that they can kind of have their preseason as well, where it's not a 6-hour plane ride, it's a 45-minute bus trip at most to get to the other team's facility. I mean, it's a big deal.
Yeah, and Pastel brings up a good point about centralization, and Riley, you kind of touched on it a little bit too. Just think of what they're going to be able to do with all their digital media staffs that are going to be all in the same spot, and they're all going to be able to do promotions together and events and everything. So even if you can't, like as a fan of a team, and I'm in a different city, I'll still be able to really digest tons of content.
There'll be so much. Yeah, there'll be so much better content having not only the team staffs but the league staffs there as well.
Yep. Agreed.
Well, and the other thing is like there's no established fan bases for any of these teams yet, right? So if you were expecting to bring 10,000 people from DC to come out in February, in January to go watch the Defenders training camp, like it's not going to happen. So centralizing it in order to get that content out, I think is going to be key to creating that buzz for February.
Yeah, Gless. I mean, it's a good point. The only con really is the fan engagement because you don't have the fan base yet to where you can expect that amount of people. But like in Houston, they're going to be working with a lot of organizations, youth organizations. They're going to be bringing kids out to participate in the scrimmages and like interact with the players. So like you could have done that type of stuff in all of these different cities, which now you don't have the opportunity to. But you also have mini camps, which some of the locations haven't been disclosed yet to the public. But if those are somewhat local, you have that opportunity, and then obviously the season to get people involved and build your brand as you go through the year. So I think when you look at the pros and cons, I know not a lot, but some people on social media were like, I wish that their training camp was in the hometown of their team. And I get it because as a fan, you want to be able to go and see their practice. You want to be able to interact with players. But just from, a cost standpoint, logistics standpoint, it just makes too much sense to have it in Houston. So the XFL is just another decision that they're making, setting themselves up for future success. What's up, football fans? Visit XFLChalkTalk.com to get the latest analysis, discussions, interviews, and news from around the league. You can also sign up for our email list so you can receive notifications on when content is posted focused on your favorite XFL team.